Hello, hello, hello. Chris Fluke here. Chris Fluke Podcast, episode number 60. First off, I want to thank everybody for listening to episode number 59. In that episode, I talked about losing my older brother, Ryan, a little bit over 8 years ago to drugs. It was such a rough period of time when he was struggling with his drug abuse, what to do as a family, what to do as a brother, or even what to do as a friend when there's other people that I know that I've lost over the years. It's always one of those hard things to come to grips with, but I think one of the most important things that we could do in the aftermath of terrible situations like this is to talk about these traumatic events. And I had a friend that sent me a message and she was like, I didn't realize that, this stuff was still that raw. But, when you start talking about these things, some of the emotions start to come out. And if you don't talk about these things, if you don't try to face these things head on, if you find a safe space, so to speak, you're never going to be able to get over this trauma, no matter what that trauma would be, right? And nowadays, it seems that word trauma is being used for a broad array of things, and our answer has been to shield somebody from that. But in my opinion, that's the worst possible answer to a problem, is to shield yourself from it or to hide from it. You need to talk about it. You need to be open about it. You need to share what happened to you. You need to almost relive those moments sometimes. And it's what goes into a lot of, therapeutic techniques like cognitive behavior therapies, like exposure therapy, where you slowly expose somebody to something. If you're scared of a tarantula, deathly afraid of it, so to speak, right? You might not be comfortable with that tarantula in the room with you, but after, meeting with somebody, trying to get over this fear, you could bring that tarantula in the room for 5 seconds, and then 50 seconds, and then 50 minutes. And then next thing you know, you can hang out in a room for an entire day with that tarantula and not be scared. All because you started with that 5 seconds or whatever it may be, right? You slowly, relived your fear, and then you realize that you could overcome that fear. You could overcome other previous traumas that you've had in your life if you come to grips with what that trauma may be, right? So every year or two, once or twice a year, I end up diving into this stuff where I talk about losing my brother on this podcast or, whatever it may be. And I find it to be very beneficial, therapeutic in a sense. And I think it's important for us to kind of be open with, things that happen in our lives, good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be. Be open with it. Understand that a lot of people are going through the same stuff that you're going through. Find people to talk to, share your story, and try to work on overcoming, those negative, or not negative, but try to overcome those scary feelings that you might have, right? So anyway, everybody that sent me a message, thank you. A lot of this stuff, a lot of my memories of my brother involves, playing sports and stuff growing up, wrestling around, watching sports, going to sporting events, coaching sports together. I got into coaching because my brother at the time was coaching wrestling. He got me in the door, and while I was in the door, I said, why don't I see if I could coach football at this school? Next thing you know, I'm coaching middle school football, and then I'm coaching high school football. Now I'm still coaching football to this day. A lot of my life, my entire life, I'm 35, there's probably only been about 5 years where I wasn't involved in athletics in one way or another. I was either playing them, coaching them, whatever it may be. So that's a huge period of my life, and that's a huge part of what I do. And what I'm doing now, what I want to do now, is to introduce athletics to kids. Over the years, the demographic I'm working with, it's starting to get into that younger range, that youth sport range. And what I want to do as their coach is to give them a fun and positive training experience, teach them the fundamentals, add a little bit of competition to it, and just try to show these kids that, we could train, we could have fun, we could get better at sports. And this is something that's important to us to do for the rest of our lives. We could always kind of work towards something. We could always get a little bit better. Every day that we wake up, man, we always have an opportunity, to be a little bit better than what we were yesterday. And we could just pick one thing, and we're going to say, today I'm going to get better at jumping rope. Or today, I've had kids climb a rope in our gym here, and it's the ultimate tool. Because that kid starts at ground zero, right? He could barely get one hand over the other. But you fast forward 2 weeks, now he's doing 1, 2, now he's getting 3 hands over. Next thing you know, he's halfway. Next thing you know, he's 3/4. And then all of a sudden, the next time he tries, he's at the top, and you're like, all of a sudden it just clicks. But why does it click? Because that person continued to work on something. We did it in an unstructured environment where it was like, hey man, go play around on that rope, see how you could do. There was no teaching secret techniques. It's letting those kids go out there, trying to learn the activity that you want them to learn, and letting them do that on their own. the greatest way for knowledge or any kind of skill acquisition to adhere for the long haul is for them to kind of figure it out on their own. Because there's going to be a lot of trials and tribulations along the way. And because of that, they're going to remember what worked and they're going to remember what doesn't work because they've experienced it over and over again. Rather than me just telling them, hey, this is how you do it, go do it. You just try to nudge them to figure it out on their own. And I think it's the same way with anything. I think it happens in academics. I think it happens in learning sports. The way to do it, or learning anything, really, when we're trying to learn, the best thing to do is allow those kids, allow those adults, allow whoever you're working with to explore and kind of sort it out and figure it out on their own. Now, this episode, I had some questions. I'm going to be working. I have 5 weeks of camps going on this summer at the farm, right? And we're going to be working with the age groups of 8 to 12. I've got college athletes, high school athletes. Are going to be coming in and helping me. People that I used to coach are now going to kind of become coaches themselves. And we're going to try to kind of have this kind of circle of, I don't even know. It's not a circle of life. It's a circle of coaching, a circle of something going on here where, I coach these kids. Now these kids are in college, right? And now they're going to take everything that they've learned from me, from their sport coaches, and now they're going to try to apply those principles to a younger generation. And they're going to have to find ways to teach these young kids how to do what they want them to do, so to speak, right? And one of the best ways you can learn is to teach, right? If you're, the best way to learn is to try to get an understanding that you could explain it to an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. And that's what we're going to be doing here. We got these high school kids. It's like I could tell them about arm action. I could tell them about posture. But now they're going to see what I've been telling them. They're going to see it in these young kids. And then they're going to have to figure out a way to communicate with them to fix it. And then by doing that, they're going to see what works and what doesn't work. And then they might even be able to apply it to themselves or other people that they work with, right? So it's like the ultimate way to teach, to learn actually, is to become the instructor yourself. So this summer, 8 to 12-year-old kids, right? We're going to be having camps out here. And, during this time period, our whole goal is going to be to build that foundation. They talk about the fundamentals, and the first 3 letters in fundamentals are F-U-N, right? Fun, right? So we're going to try to build the fundamentals. We're going to try to build the foundation. You think about that tree, right? If you cut the tree right down the middle and you start looking at that tree stump, all right? You see those different rings in there, right? In that stump, you're going to see a wide variety of rings. We start at that centerpiece, right? That's that first, the first few years that they're on this earth. And then from there, these rings continue to come. And next thing you know, you got this big sturdy tree as it expands and gets larger. With training, we do the same thing. We start basic, and then from there, we make sure that they have those fundamentals down, and then we just start building on it and building on it and building on it. Next thing you know, they're going to have this big skill set, a wide variety of athletic skills to pull from, a little bag of tricks, so to speak, right? They're going to be able to pull from that bag of tricks and hopefully be able to apply that to their sport of choice or to life in general, right? One powerful thing about sports and learning and racing and jumping and being competitive is that eventually you're going to get your rear end whooped, and you're going to be able to learn humility along the way too. And I think that's the power that I talked about with climbing that rope. Being humbled by stuff day in and day out goes a very long way over the course of your life. And it's kind of like a mental preparation, a mental lesson that we try to teach on a day-to-day level here. So again, 8 to 12 years old, we're talking about fundamentals. We're teaching them the importance of working towards something, the mental preparation. We're teaching a wide variety of skills, all major skills that show up in athletics. We're going to teach them, and we're going to try to get good at them. And then from there, we could specialize as they get older. But right now, it's all about building that fundamental, that bag, expanding that bag of tricks. And what we're really trying to do is trying to encourage physical activity multiple times a week. It can be anything at this age, right? 8 to 12, yes, you could play a sport. Yes, you could go to karate. Yeah, you could go to the park and do some of your monkey bars and all this other stuff. The whole point is just to get out and do something. You could go swim at the pool, ride your bike, something like that. But we want these kids out and we want them moving, all right? And then when we start to think about how are we going to prepare these kids, how are we going to structure these workouts? There's going to be a few factors that go into all this, right? We're going to be talking about how to warm up the body, right? We're going to be doing like some dynamic prep, so to speak, where we're going to teach the different positions. We're going to teach the athletic position. We're going to teach how to jump properly. Like you start with your arms up, snap the arms down, and then be in a good athletic jumping stance. We're going to practice that stuff. We're going to talk about this dynamic prep stuff. We're going to be talking about putting force into the ground, but explaining it in a way that these kids could understand. Really fast feet where you're just pop, 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 pop. We're putting force into the ground. All we're trying to do is just get these kids to make a little bit of noise with their feet, and they're going to hopefully understand that I could propel myself a little further if I put a little bit more force in the ground, right? We're going to be doing some ladder drills, some things to get the joints warmed up, some jump rope. We're going to have them jumping rope in different patterns, single leg jumps, side to side jumps, forward and back jumps, jumps where you scissor your feet. Well, all we're doing is just prepping these bodies for future activities that we're going to do that day. So we're teaching them how to jump. We're teaching them how to do these high knee runs. We're doing 2-inch runs where they're working hard and they're pounding into the ground. Things that are going to fire up the system, so to speak. The neurological system here, that central nervous system, and also the body, the muscles, the joints. We're getting the tissue ready for some more crazy work down the line here. So we do a little bit of a warm-up. And in our, that was the dynamic prep. I kind of skipped the warm-up part. In our warm-up, we teach the basic body movements. We're going to do some stuff. We're going to do a squat, so to speak. We're going to do a lunge. We're going to do something on one leg where you might go down and touch your toe. So a hamstring warm-up plus a little bit of balance. Some side lunges, some inchworms. Just some different stuff that are getting them to twist and rotate to really try to open up the spine and show them how to rotate properly. Because eventually we're going to be throwing a medicine ball, say, and they're going to need to be able to rotate. So we need to use our warm-up as a teaching tool. And then we go into that dynamic prep period where now we're going to ramp up our warm-up a little bit. So with every drill, with every transition, with every period that we move into here, it gets a little bit more intense. So we're going to start with the warm-up. Then we move to this dynamic prep stuff that we talked about already. From there, we're going to go into like a power, some power training, so to speak, that it's going to get them throwing those medicine balls. Maybe they're on both knees, and all they're going to do is throw the medicine ball as far as they can. It's kind of like a chest pass. Chuck the ball as far as you can, or we pick the ball up overhead and we slam it off the ground. The idea is going to be to eliminate as many variables as possible, so we might start in a kneeling position, a tall kneeling position, nice and upright, and then slam. And then eventually we could work ourselves into an athletic position, and then we could work our way up to a full standing position where we kind of extend at the ankles. So we start from the ground up with a lot of this stuff, right? The same with our jump training. We're doing some explosive work with a medicine ball. We might also just sit down on a bench, and then from that seated position, get them into a good explosive jumping position. And from the seat, jump up out of that seat as high as you can, stick the landing on your feet in a good landing position, and then you sit back down. Remember, we already went over the landing position in our dynamic prep. Our jumping position and our landing position are pretty comparable. So we use those first couple periods to kind of not only warm up, but introduce and teach, okay? I hope you're staying with me here. So we got the warm up, we got the dynamic prep where we're getting that body firing a little bit faster than a warm-up. We're doing a ladder drill, jumping rope, whatever. We're going to do some power stuff, right? We're going to throw medicine balls. We're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to see who could jump the furthest. We'll see who could jump the highest. We'll see who could do three broad jumps and then stick the landing, stuff like that. We're going to try to get them doing things in a fast and explosive manner, all right? From there now, we did some of the power training. We're going to focus on moving linearly in a straight line going forward, right? And from there, we're going to really start talking about posture. And, the way that we train, the way that we train the running posture, we could start as simple as holding a push-up position plank. And what that's teaching you is your hips are fully extended, your butt's not up in the air. And every drill that we do is going to be kind of working from, that stable, rigid core with full hip extension, all right? We don't want to run and do any drill like from this crouch, bent at the hip type of thing. So in order for us to be a little bit faster, we could start at the ground level. We could have them hold the push-up position plank, and then from there, we could get upright, and we could have them in the plank position standing up now with their arms out like they're holding a plank, but now they're leaning to the wall. So their body's at, let's just say, roughly 45 degrees. They're leaning into a wall with straight arm, and they have to maintain that posture, that plank position. And then they run, they'll move their feet in these different running type patterns. They're called wall drills, basically. You lean into the wall and then you perform some of this stuff, right? And then our basic linear sprint stuff is going to be different types of starts. The good stuff is a falling start. We could start on the ground. You could start totally upright, but basically, let's say we're going to do falling starts where you have great posture and it's like a tree falling over in the forest. So you think about that push-up position, plank again with that full hip extension, and all you're going to do is lean forward like you're falling over, and then you sprint out whenever you get to that point that you are going to fall. So we have falling starts. We have rolling starts where they build a little bit of momentum and then sprint. We have stationary starts where they're just in a set stance. Think about the Olympic Games, right? Or think about track and field. You get in that set stance, you hold that stance for X amount of time, and then go. They have to sprint out. At the end of these, it started out because of space limitations, but right now I have them decelerate and freeze and stop in the athletic position after about 10 yards. Because what we're training here is we're training acceleration out of our start and then deceleration. Sports are about accelerating and decelerating. If I could accelerate and decelerate faster than you, I'm probably going to get to that ball a little bit quicker. And that's what we're going to be training, right? So it's starting to plant those seeds, right? Another good approach is if you want to kind of take the wheels off. Hey, get on your belly, on go, get to your feet and sprint out, right? And you can see you'll be able to learn a lot from a drill like that. One, you can see if they lack some upper body power, if they can't push themselves off the ground. You can see if there's any breaks in their chain, if there's any weak links in their chain when they get to their feet and they have to take a few stumbly starts to get going forward. Ideally, you could push yourself up, you could put one foot in the ground and accelerate forward. If you see something that doesn't look right, it's probably because there's some weakness somewhere along the way, and it doesn't take an expert eye to see somebody that looks efficiently getting off the ground and sprinting and somebody that looks inefficient. And that individual that looks inefficient is probably going to in need of some stability training, aka strength training of some sort, right? So these are all things you're just kind of evaluating with every drill that you do. You're just trying to see what's going on, right? And then from there, you could find ways to correct this stuff. All right, after that, you could just hold the upright push-up position. On go, boom, get out there and go. And then if you want to have a little bit of fun, you put the kids in a push-up position. You have them run some mountain climbers, all right? And at any given, they're just running mountain climbers. It could be 2 seconds. It could be 22 seconds. Go. They have to get off the ground and react to you saying go. And then they sprint, right? The ultimate way to get faster is to either chase somebody or be chased by somebody. So we do some of that stuff too. We might give somebody a little bit of a head start. We might put somebody in a disadvantaged position, say go, and then see if they could catch up and tag them or something like that, right? These are all ways to get kids not only moving faster, but also having a little bit of fun in the process, right? But here's a little side note, a little disclaimer. We have to be very mindful as a coach that when we do have some fun, we gotta let the kids know that we want to have fun, but we're gonna have to reel it in. We can't. It's not just gonna be chaos. We have some fun in the beginning, then we're gonna have to kind of pull it back down. Listen, not every drill is gonna be like this super exciting fun thing where we're chasing people. I need you to kind of chill out for a bit. Let's work on some new skills. We'll have some fun later, but you got these like ebbs and flows over the course of your practice, just to try to keep them engaged and mix in some fun, mix in some competition. And honestly, sometimes you have to read their body language. And if they're having fun with something, and I only got 6 minutes planned for this drill, but right now you're at 9 minutes and they're still ripping it and having fun and working hard, let it go. Just keep doing it. Do it. Stop it whenever they're losing interest or want to switch it up. But really, you gotta be a coach and kind of observe the situation here and feel out the room, so to speak, right? And if the kids are digging it, man, let them dig it. Let them have some fun. Because remember, our goal is fun, right? Our goal is to have a positive training experience. After that, now, we did some linear training. All this other stuff. This is where athletics live, I think, is non-linear training. It's the side shuffle. It's the crossover run. It is the back pedal, the retreating, whatever it may be. Not a lot of I don't know any sports, really, other than track and field, that involve like a straight line 30-yard sprint. There's aspects of that, and almost like in football, a wide receiver rarely would run in a straight line, but it might happen then. A sport like lacrosse or soccer, they might go on a long run down the sideline in a straight line. Is it common? Is it happening a majority of the time? No. 99% of sports is chaos. It's these side-to-side movements. It's quick shuffles left, crossover, back pedal, turn and run. Get back into your back pedal. It's all this stuff going on. And so we need to train that stuff. And I would even say it's more of a point of emphasis to get kids moving efficient, if you want your kid to get a little bit better in a short amount of time, I would work that lateral stuff, right? If your defense is struggling, lateral, crossover runs, back pedals, all that other stuff. If you're super efficient, like I said, if you could accelerate and decelerate laterally faster than your opponent can change direction, you're going to be in good shape. You're going to be able to maintain good body positioning. So we train it. We train the side shuffles, right? So we introduce the side shuffle in part of our warm-up as we just kind of take a 2-inch step. We're in an athletic stance. We step to the left 2 or 3 inches, and then we replace that foot. It's step, replace, step, replace. A 3-inch step is going to be replaced with another 3-inch step. And you're going to maintain that athletic base as you walk your way down. We also have a crossover run, right, which is a side run. I don't know. This one brings on confusion because I don't think it's trained too much, where one foot crosses over in front of the other and you just run sideways. Your hips turn a bit, but your shoulders are going to stay parallel, almost parallel to the wall in front of you or the person that you'd be defending. This lateral position is where this crossover run position is where a ton of sports happen, man. We got to be able to turn the hips, but keeping our eye on our prize there, on our target, right? So we train the crossover run, and we do it in a few ways. But we break it down into just saying, hey, one crossover step, get set. One crossover step, get set. One crossover step, get set. All right, turn and jog, right? Then we do it in the other direction. And then we could be in that athletic stance. Crossover left, crossover right, crossover left, crossover right, And all we're doing is working that first step, because that first step's super important. We do the same thing with the shuffle, right? And then the way that we can get fun, we can have some fun with this is like, 2 shuffles, based off of whatever direction I point. So this kid, he's looking at you. If I point right, they're taking 2 shuffles to the right and then 2 shuffles back to center. And then you point in a direction again. Or you could say right or left. Or you could give them a color. Or you could give them an odd or even number. You could do all kinds of different things here, but it's forcing them to listen and then respond to whatever you say. Another thing you could do is have them mirror somebody. You can have them, one person's, they're facing each other, one person's in control of the drill. If they shuffle twice to the left, then you have to shuffle twice to the left. You get what I'm saying. There's a mirror drill. We do the same stuff with the crossover. And then from there, we could start building, 2 drills into one. We could say things like 2 crossovers out, 3 shuffles back. So now we're doing different movement patterns all in the same drill. And it gets the kids thinking, it gets them working, and it gets them moving their feet in all kinds of crazy patterns. And the whole time that we're doing it is we're reinforcing really quick change of directions, right? It's being able to put, like I talked about, put some force in the ground. When I change direction, I'm popping into the ground and I'm coming back. That's the stuff that we need to talk about. After that, we have these retreating skills, backpedaling and kind of angular shuffling or crossover running at like 45 degrees backwards. So I guess let's just go with 45 degrees one way or the other way, right? So it's working different angles. So we have to start, facing an opponent. We got to turn and open up the hips, crossovers in one direction, or shuffles in one direction, or just turn and run in one direction. We have to work on our backpedaling, our retreating, our moving in reverse skills, because that's where defense occurs a lot of times. You get to the person you're covering, and then you got to be able to break down and move backwards, right? So we call those non-linear. So our linear stuff is always going to be kind of in the mix, but then from there, most of our stuff, our drills are going to be living in that non-linear pattern, right? So if I were to rehash this and regroup, it's like we got the warm-up, we got the dynamic prep, and then we got the power stuff where we're throwing or jumping. From there, every day we're going to work some sort of linear type of stuff. But what this linear stuff is just working starts. It's running fast. It's chasing something. It's going after the tennis ball and the tennis ball drop drill. It's all of this stuff. And then a bulk of what we're going to do then, if we're trying to improve speed and agility, we already did our starts. With speed training, my first 10 yards are the most important, so that's what we train. We'll do that every day. And then the rest of our stuff is just going to be working that non-linear. We're going to get better at defending. We're going to get better at moving laterally. We're going to get better at retreating and opening up the hips and turning and running. That is where athletics live, and that is where defense lives. All right? So we train it, and we train it a lot. So, a bulk of what we do is going to be there, right? I don't want to beat a dead horse here, and I hate using that reference because I live on a horse farm and we got some beautiful horses. But, we got to train that agility type stuff, right? Anyhow. After that, man, we're calling that a speed and agility session, right? And then from there, right, We got to work strength. We got to work conditioning. You're asking me, how long is this workout? This summer, I'm going to have 2 hours, right? We're going to have a lot of breaks. We're going to try to get a little bit better at everything that we touch, okay? So, over the course of 2 hours, we're going to get some strength and conditioning in at the end of this, okay? For kids between the ages of 8 to 12, one thing that's super important is those 10-yard starts, right? If you didn't do them in your workout, if you didn't do them in your linear stage, then I would recommend doing them as part of your strength circuit, right? And then from there, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to teach these kids the basic fundamental human movements. Can you do a squat? Can you do a pulling exercise, whether it's a TRX row or a chin up or a rope climb or a bent arm hang or just hanging from the bar? That's what we work for our pulls. It's your body weight. For our squats, it's body weight squats and maybe a light goblet squat if the kid could handle it. We're teaching a hinge, right, where we're bending at the hips. We do broad jumps where we bend at the hips. We do vertical jumps where we bend at the hips. Now we're going to add a little bit of resistance where you just maybe hold the kettlebell right between your legs. You sit your hips back, you touch it down to an object, and then you come up. Simple enough, right? If we're going to start working our presses now, right? So we did a squat, we did a pull, we did a hinge at the hips. Now we're going to have to push some weight, right? How do we do our pushes? Hold the push-up position plank. That trains the push muscles. From there, let's try some push-ups. Or we could get one weight and we could press it over our head without using any of our legs. That's a strict one-arm press. Tremendous exercise. One of my favorite exercises to ever, exist. One of the oldest exercises and one of the greatest exercises. If you put a weight in one hand and you try to drive it up, just get a heavy enough dumbbell and do this. Try this out yourself if you're a grown-up and lift weights and you feel your abs just totally brace. You squeeze your butt, you squeeze your legs, and you're using all of your effort, all of that tension in your body to press a weight. It's an ultimate test of not only upper body strength, but whether or not you have the core strength and stability to press something over your head, right? I love that exercise. And then from there, we're going to do something on one leg. It could be some sort of, single leg hinging, like an RDL. Think about standing on one leg, getting a single leg hamstring stretch, reach your arms out in front of you. It can be a split squat of some sort. It could be anything you want to do on one leg, we could do it there. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and say we have a category called loaded carries. It's sleds. It's carrying weight around. You might have a weight on one side here with good posture. Pretend you got a book on your head. You're going to hold a 25-pound kettlebell in one hand, and you're going to walk down and back in the right hand, down and back in the left hand without losing your posture. If you end up grabbing a weight that's too heavy, it's going to affect your posture. And if you can't balance something on your head, if your chin, your sternum, and your zipper on your pants aren't in a straight line, then it's too much weight, right? You want to be able to maintain some spinal integrity, stay in a nice straight line as you do this stuff. So we're going to push sleds, we're going to drag sleds, we are going to tow sleds. We're going to do anything imaginable with a sled. We're going to carry weights around. And lastly, we're going to crawl on the ground. I put these in a loaded carry family too. It's kind of like some of the tumbling stuff, which I feel like is a lost art, right? So we're going to be bear crawling forward, bear crawling backwards. Maybe do a forward roll. Maybe try to do a shoulder roll. Maybe try to do a backwards roll. What I've come to learn, kids just cannot tumble. I mean, I've seen some of the worst forward rolls that I've ever seen in my life. Boys, girls, doesn't seem to matter. I've also seen some great ones, okay? But I think it's a lost art. I think it's something that we're missing. And one important aspect of tumbling and doing rolls, I'm not talking about advanced stuff like round-offs and back handsprings. I'm talking about just the basics, right? That's all we talk about around here is the foundation stuff. Your body, if you're able to roll and get to your feet quickly and efficiently, you get knocked over in a game, you're going to be able to get back up. If you're able to roll forward and get to your feet in an efficient manner, your body awareness is probably good. Your kinesthetic awareness, your ability to control your body in space is probably going to be better than that individual that doesn't know how to do a forward roll. And that's why we do it, really. It's not some sort of, joke, gimmicky thing to make somebody feel like they can't accomplish a task. I want to know if these kids have some great body awareness or if they're just playing their sport and not keeping the big picture in mind. So I lump in some of the tumbling stuff in with the loaded carries, right? So again, if we had to sum this up, We got a warm up, we got a prep thing, a dynamic prep period. Then we got the power stage. Then we got our speed and agility section. Then we have our strength. And then for conditioning, we just talked about the sleds and all that. Or you could do a basic thing too. You get a little bit of fun. Pick up your friend, bear hug him, walk all the way down 30 yards. He picks you up. He carries you back 30 yards. Then you guys bear crawl 30. Then you come reverse bear crawl back. And then you just keep repeating stuff like that over and over again. Getting up, getting down, changing levels, so to speak. 10 squats, bear crawl, pick up, do a chin up, like that type of stuff. Getting up and down off the ground. 10 push-ups, 10 squats, 9 push-ups, 9 squats. Things that force kids up and down. Those level changes, I think, are also pretty important. That's where the tumbling comes in. That's where all the other different exercises, the ups and downs, all of that stuff is going to play an important role in, the chaotic world of sports, right? So, again, parents, coaches, anybody, this summer, man, 5 weeks of camps going on. This is a general format we're going to be working with. The two names for these camps, strength and conditioning, functional strength and conditioning, and speed and agility, they're just going to be two different formats. One is going to have an emphasis on strength and conditioning, a little bit, say 60% of the time, speed and agility 40% of the time. And then the other weeks, we're just going to flip it, right? Where our focus in the beginning, we have 3 different areas for workouts. Well, I guess 4 technically. 2 or 3 of them, 3 of them are outside, 1 of them is inside the gym. With the strength and conditioning program, we'll be a little bit more in the gym with the rope climbs, with the jump ropes, with the medicine balls. With the speed and agility, it's a lot more outside, right? So that's how we're just going to do this thing here. And it's going to be that format that I just broke down. We're going to try to encourage kids in a fun, competitive, positive environment. And hopefully have a little bit of fun during the process. I'm looking forward to working with some of my athletes, the former athletes that I used to coach. Now I'm getting to that old man territory when you've been coaching for over 10 years. Now the kids that used to coach at one point in time, they're like out of college or, they're finishing up school or, it gets a little crazy. And now it's nice to have these guys come back and these girls come back and help you out. So anyhow, I guess that's a sign of me aging. If my bald head wasn't enough, I guess that's the next step right there. So guys, Chris Folk Podcast, Google, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube's. I got a channel here. I don't even know how many videos we're approaching. We're probably getting to that 100 mark, which is great, man. So go to Chris Flook. Just search Chris Flook on YouTube. Like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. And man, I look forward to hearing you. I look forward to hearing about your feedback. Again, thanks for everybody for listening. Hope you have a wonderful day. Peace, everybody.